How's it going, everybody? My name is Sobri, and the title of this video is saying goodbye to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, this isn't going to be like an elaborate video essay type thing exploring, the entirety of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's history and stuff like that. I figured I might as well just sit down, in a regional like I am right now, and just give, my personal goodbyes to the game, give a brief overview of my history with it and how it's really impacted my life. And, I figured some people might want to sit down and listen to that, whether it's, maybe one person or however many people have viewed it currently. So, yeah, a few notes before we go. One, this is entirely unscripted. Well, not entirely. I have a few footnotes next to me, but other than that, this is entirely unscripted. And then second off, don't mind my gameplay. I'm mostly focusing on talking here, so I'm just kind of mindlessly running through it. I'll probably lose a ton of VR through this. But anyway, so I first got my start with the Mario Kart series in around, I want to say like 2011-ish. I went to a friend's house and he had Wii Wheels and Mario Kart Wii. And from then I was hooked. We had a Wii at home, and then for my birthday, my mom picked up Mario Kart Wii. And from then on, I was absolutely addicted to the game as an elementary schooler. I would talk about it constantly. It was my favorite thing. It got to the point where my parents got so fed up with me that they ended up taking it away for years at that point. And then so, as most kids do, they drift away from some interests. They hop over to others. I got into Minecraft for a little bit. And then around my freshman year of high school, end of middle school, I think it was the summer ending from middle school going into high school, I went over to my best friend's house. We were having a sleepover, with a bunch of friends, and he had a Nintendo Switch. Now, I had heard about the Nintendo Switch, but I didn't really have too much interest in it. And he pulled out Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And I remember bringing out Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and then getting this huge wave of, I don't want to say nostalgia because I was like 13, 14, and I think it's impossible to have nostalgia at that age. But just like remembering what Mario Kart Wii felt like. At that point, freshman year of high school, I kept asking my parents for a Switch for Christmas. And sure enough, Christmas Day 2019, I opened a Nintendo Switch with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And then I used some Christmas money to buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I would play Smash and Mario Kart a ton. In Mario Kart, I would play mostly offline, just going through the GPs. Same with Smash, just mostly offline play. Getting to know the controls a little bit, just having fun. Exploring all the new characters, things like that. As I was exploring it, this little thing called the pandemic hit. I don't know if you ever heard of it. But basically, everything stopped for a little bit. And so, for me, sure, it just meant more time with my Nintendo Switch. So, throughout the pandemic, I would spend what was a crazy amount of hours at the time, just, run up some more Mario Kart and Smash Brothers. And at this point, I had, starting to figure out time trials and a little bit of online, running up some worldwides. And was I great at it? No, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And then just before I had received my Nintendo Switch for Christmas, my parents unfortunately got divorced. So I was split custody with them at that time. So Wednesdays and every other weekend, I would spend with my dad. And then all the other time I would spend with my mom. And I love my parents both equally. They're both great people. But it only meant that I got to have my Nintendo Switch with my dad. And my mom wasn't too happy if I was able to bring it over to her house. She was kind of strict on that, like, video game and screen time stuff back then, as a lot of parents were. If you can relate with that, I'm definitely hanging in with you there. It got to a point where I was just so addicted to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that I would just sneak it on over to her house. It is crazy how convenient it was for me that the Switch was like a portable hybrid console, because I could just snag it from my dad's, bring it into my room at mom's and play for it for a little bit, bring it back to my dad's. Eventually my mom found out and she wasn't very happy, and so I had to take a little break from the Switch. Overall, I was still having so much fun with this silly little game. Eventually, my parents let me have it back. And around this time, summer 2020 had ended. I actually had switched schools. So the school that I went to prior was not fun. It was a public school, and there were a lot of safety issues. You know, we had some kid with a knife come in. He didn't seriously hurt anybody, but he was definitely waving it around and stuff like that. We had a SWAT team come in, so I think that was a bit of a turn off for our parents. And so my mom started dating this guy who his kids, who were all older than me, not by much, but they were older, went to this Catholic high school, and we all transferred there. And I'm not Catholic. I'm a best way I can describe it is that I'm just a follower of Christ. If I could put a label on it, I'd say Baptist. So it was a little awkward going into it, but even then, you know, I still had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as a little bit of an unscripted stuff. I had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has a escape from everything that was happening. It was all reliable. If I was coming back to my dad's, I could just, you know, get off of school, come home, run up some Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. At this point, I had moved off from playing Mario Kart and Smash and more towards Mario Kart and Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing New Horizons could get its own overview video like this, but that's not what we're talking about. It became an escape. And then I eventually found out about this little website called MK Leaderboards. If you don't know, MK Leaderboards, for the purpose of my usage, was basically just for submitting your time trial times, and then you could see what rank you were, like worldwide or within your country. So I remember that was a huge motivator to like let me just sink hours upon hours into time trialing. I remember I would just throw on Scott the Woz videos on repeat, even if I had seen them 8 times at that point. I'd throw them on in the background, time trial for a little bit, just mindlessly, and it was, you know, so relaxing. And honestly, I still do it to this day. Not to, you know, the 4 or 5 hour sessions I was able to do it when I was, you know, 15, 16. It's still a really fun thing, you know, just to be able to forget about the outside world and just, the only thing you got is the fictional character ahead of you and Scott the Woz talking about Mario Tennis Aces. I remember watching that video like 10 minutes after it came out, and now it's just such an iconic video, the dark ages of Nintendo. So I spent a lot of my free time doing that. And then, yeah, like I said, the time trialing, moving my way up on MK Leaderboards. It was so cool to see. Like, I remember a goal of mine was to get like within the top 100 player rankings on MK Leaderboards. I was able to do that. I think right now I'm in like the mid to low 70s for 150cc, which isn't like ridiculously impressive, but back then to me it was like so cool. I used to flex to my friends about that. For the next 2 years, Mario Kart and Animal Crossing were kind of like that, just coming home whenever I'm at my dad's house, running it up and just escaping. I will say these games did not help my grades whatsoever. I was a terrible student in high school, and I know a lot of people can relate with that. A lot of video game players letting their grades slip. There were definitely multiple scares that I had with failing my classes. I remember my parents getting super pissed at me, but you know, I just love this game too much, and it makes it sound like a drug. I definitely had an issue with this game and Animal Crossing back then. Next thing I know, I'm cap and gown and I've graduated high school. I walk out holding my diploma and I'm ready to enter a new phase of life. I've had a summer job for the past like 4 or 5 years, which limits my ability to have electronic devices on me. So like where I work, I don't even have my phone on me, let alone the little portable device where I can play Mario Kart. I'm sure they'd love that if I snuck that in. So I didn't play much of the summer of 2023 when I graduated. But then I moved to college and I didn't take the Nintendo Switch with me. The Switch was owned to my family, so it wasn't like my Nintendo Switch thing. It was it's our family's Nintendo Switch. And so since I had 3 siblings, it only made sense that, they were able to keep it. And I just kind of had to use my Steam Deck which I had purchased a year prior. For 2023 going into 2024, I basically only had my Steam Deck. And whenever I went home, I would still like run up Mario Kart. This is right when the Booster Course Pass tracks were coming out. So I remember playing Wave 6 at my dad's house and just thinking like how much I kind of missed this game. Like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like, it's so crazy that I went for like almost like a year and a half of my life without this game. It just felt weird at this point, you know, having such a constant be removed. You know, I only really felt the effects of that once I got my hands back on it. Spent another summer working at that same summer job, so didn't have much time to worry about it. Fall of 2024, I move out of my college dorm, and then I move into an apartment with some friends. It gets to the point where, you know, I have my own room. I'm going to share it like I did in the dorm. And so I'm thinking, you know what? I missed Animal Crossing mostly, but I did miss Mario Kart still a ton. And so I ended up looking at my bank account, thought I had a little bit of money to spare. So I looked onto Facebook Marketplace, and there was a Nintendo Switch for fairly cheap, an hour away. So I ended up driving down, picked up a Switch, got all my settings transferred, and sure enough, I was back to playing Mario Kart again. Coincidentally, right around the same time, I was starting to stream on Twitch. You know, not too many people. I think I had an average of 3 viewers. Probably one of those were bots, and the other 2 are my idiot friends who I just asked to leave a laptop open. And so, you know, I had my Switch for a little bit, but I had no way to capture the video. I thought it'd be a good idea to, instead of streaming emulated Mario Kart Wii from my school MacBook, maybe I could, you know, transfer some of the load of actually running a game onto a Nintendo Switch with a capture card. It would be easier processing for my computer, and I'd be playing a more modern game, so maybe some people would be interested in hopping on. That decision absolutely blew the waters open for my experience with this game. Right up around this point, I basically stopped playing in Worldwides, and I only did time trials because, you know, I thought time trials were so cool because I'm facing my most evenly matched opponent every single time, myself. That's just a really cool concept to me. And so switching over from just doing time trials to facing, you know, people who were a lot better than me was kind of crazy. But yeah, we started off going back into Worldwides, and then I had met a few people from streaming emulated Mario Kart that would hop in on the races and hang around and chat. And then I eventually just started meeting new people through the rooms. In Mario Kart, I don't know if you have noticed so far, in my name, I have TGV Sobri, which is a little tag. Not a clan tag, but it just basically means like, hey, twitch.tv/Sobri_. Basically just means that I'm streaming. A couple people in this room right now might actually think that I'm streaming, but I'm just recording a silly old video. And so a lot of people come to stream, they'd be like, hey, I'm in your room. And then we get to chatting, and then, you know, we'd go on these crazy experiences. I met a competitive player, and I'll preface this by saying I do not play competitive Mario Kart at all. I think it's a ridiculous thing, to be fair, but that's besides the point. I met these competitive players, and then they all started hopping into my room. And then it ended up becoming a little bit of a challenge that they would all team up against me. I had to beat all 5 of them, and I couldn't end stream until I did so. And so it took me around 3 hours. It was super stressful in the moment, but looking back on it, it was a lot of fun, and I'm still friends with almost all of those people who were in that stream to this day. A lot of them are actually, not a lot of them, but a few of them are actually YouTubers. You guys might have heard of Slapshine and JSouth887, so shout out to those guys. And so it just continued to be meeting new people, and I kind of got addicted to, not only did I, you know, get addicted to Mario Kart again, I got addicted to streaming. Just being able to hang out with, you know, people who were like me, who just really enjoyed this game. It was awesome knowing that I could literally pop on at, you know, my regular time of night, and there'd be people there who would just hop in with me and hang out and chat. It was absolutely awesome. So I'll preface this by saying that thank you to anybody who's ever popped into my stream chat. You have made Mario Kart 8 Deluxe so much more fun, than it already was. So I continue to stream Mario Kart 8 Deluxe right from around early November. When I'm filming this today is May 13th. So I've been streaming it pretty regularly. I'd say not on a consistent basis, but every other day-ish is what you could say. For that span of a few months, it was so much fun getting to meet new people, and my VR has absolutely ballooned. I think I'm probably at 23K right now. And I think I started at like 6,000. For someone with skill like me, or lack thereof, that's really impressive. To cap that all off, I was recently in a what was it called? It was like low effort racers tournament. And so it was a tournament for players who were self-described as being non-competitive, and I had a lot of fun in that. You know, I got to meet even more new people and, you know, hang out with chat once again. And so that was such a fun event. Shout out JKP for hosting that. And that's kind of where, oh my gosh, that's kind of where we're at today. One reason I wanted to make this video is that by the time this comes out, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will not be the newest in the series. At least that's how I'm planning it for it to be. I'd like for this to release on June 5th. But in a Discord server, somebody had mentioned how this game is going to be dead in a matter of weeks. And that kind of hit. Like, we've been asking for a new Mario Kart game for how many years, right? I started playing this game in 2019, but there have been some who've been playing this game since 2014, you know, 2015, 2016. But like, now that we're here, it's like, this is the only Mario Kart game that I've like really consistently played. Like, yeah, I played Mario Kart Wii, but I was just a dumb kid. Like, I'll always love Mario Kart Wii, but this is my bread and butter Mario Kart game. And so saying goodbye is like, oh, like, this is it. Like, we're almost done. The purpose of this video, I just wanted to give props to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and everything it's done. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had an experience like this. You know, some people, you know, have also started streaming, and some people, you know, I know a lot of people who have also experienced sitting in their room mindlessly time trialing with their favorite YouTuber on in the background. And will that ever go away in Mario Kart World? No, absolutely not. It's still a very prominent change. You know, you look at Mario Kart World and you're like, oh, everything's open world, and you got new mechanics and different track variants, and like really blowing the doors open on this franchise with this new entry. And it's exciting. We're gonna get a lot of new people in on the Mario Kart series, even though this game is gonna be $80, unfortunately. But I'm really excited to see where Mario Kart World goes, especially because it's launching early on a console like this. It is, the limits are endless. But even with Mario Kart World being this like moment in gaming history, because that's truly what it's going to be. Like, we are blowing the doors off of this franchise. Mario Kart 8, I don't think will ever die, per se. You know, there's a lot of people throw around the term dead game. I don't think Mario Kart 8 will ever be, considering, you know, this is one of the best-selling games on one of the best-selling consoles. No, this is the best-selling game on one of the best-selling consoles of all time. So there's still going to be people running up this game for years upon years upon years to come. This might turn into the next Mario Kart Wii. I don't, you know, me personally, I don't think it will, but there's definitely that potential for that to happen. I know CGP Deluxe is out maybe whenever Nintendo Switch Online stops being supported on the OG Switch. Fan servers will show up. And so even though we are getting Mario Kart World, I'm kind of giving it like this sentimental goodbye. Mario Kart 8's never going to go anywhere. Seeing what the Mario Kart Wii community has done gives me hope for, you know, this game, for being out for over 10-ish years, depending on how you feel about it. There's still so much more to give, and that makes me really happy for the series of Mario Kart. And so, yeah, I think that'll do it. Oh, wait, never mind. We got Mushroom Gorge to do. If you guys don't know, Mushroom Gorge has been my favorite track since the Wii days. it's kind of fitting that we end up on here. But yeah, basically the Cliff Notes version of my outro is that this game still has so much more to go. And even though it's not going to be the main game, it's still going to be a very prominent game, right? Like, this game is entering its Twilight Mario Kart Wii era, and I'm only excited to see where it goes. You know, whether it takes like a more competitive route, whether it takes, you know, a modding route where we get a bunch of really cool custom tracks in the future. There's so much potential. And with the amazing modding community we have, like, just look at what they've done with Mario Kart Wii, and it's only going to get better as technology progresses. So I'm super excited to see where this game goes. But yeah, appreciate you watching. If you want to follow me on Twitch, I'm not actually more of a dedicated YouTuber as much as I have been streaming. So if you want to go follow me on Twitch, I would appreciate that. But other than that, that's all I got. Have a great day, guys.